Now, I have...
Live at the Gifu Memorial Center watching Cuba get introduced, just about ready for the start of Cuba against Japan. And there is Antonio Perdomo, the head coach of this Cuban squad. Cuba yesterday a 3-set win over the USA. Hello everyone, I'm Sean Barker along with ESPN volleyball analyst Chuck Schreiner. And Chuck, as you take a look at this Japanese team yesterday, in their 4-set loss, Tajimi gave them a huge lift off the bench in the 3rd set.
Yeah, she came in and provided the leadership and poise. She also had a hand in this 4-set almost victory, providing important sets and blocks at the net and passed the ball around. Just her presence in the lineup gives Japan a lift.
Ikumi Ogake, watch for her on the wing today, along with Sasaki. Nobuchika Kazuya is the Japanese coach, and he mentioned yesterday he was disappointed with the play of Sasaki, and he yanked her fairly early on.
He certainly did, and we were wondering why, but looking at the tapes and stuff, you can see she was a little bit rattled against the strong Russian team. And they're hoping to get her mental state at least sorted out for today's game.
All right, let's set the stage for you. Cuba and Japan both coming into this match with a record of 1-1 here in the Gifu pool. The winner of this would finish in 2nd place and take home $46,000 U.S. in prize money. Cuba, win or lose, will get points from this match, and 1 point is all they need to leap past China and Italy in the Grand Prix point rankings, and that would assure them of a place in the finals in Kobe. Japan, meanwhile, is in as the host nation, regardless of what happens here. So underway, that's Sasaki. Aguero pushes it over. Now Bell and Mariah Louise. The shot, but a good dig from Sasaki. And in the middle, it's Regla Torres. Check that, Barros flying from behind the attack line.
Yeah, immediately they go to their number 8, their captain, Regla Bell. She's rejected, but they have so many weapons, especially in that middle area there. They're able to come back and get the point.
A short set. Tajimi tried to sneak over, but Mariah Louise read the play and got there early.
See that nice back set there, the block? Perfect. Louise getting the save there.
So Cuba with 2 quick points. It's going to be Louise from the left side, virtually unstoppable when she gets 3 or 4 steps coming in on the wing.
Now she loves to use that left wing to set up this cross-court spike that you will notice that it's very difficult angles that she always tries to go for, and usually successful.
And a push from way over on the left. Ikumi Ogake. Now, normally, she'll go down the left side on a spike, but they're redirecting the ball.
Yeah, it's just trying to provide a little bit of assistance in the middle there on the blocking. Poor set by Cuba. Able to let her get her hands over the top of the net there.
Regla Bell with some misdirection. She came into the play only at the last moment. Aguero spotted her, and she teed it up from the right. Cuban blocking, got the hand on it, but the ball falling outside, so Japan working the quick side out.
And they'll probably use Ogaki a lot more often than they did yesterday. She started out very slow, but right from the get-go today, she's right on the net.
Aguero reverse set in the middle. Zola Barros looking for her 2nd attack in as many tries. And some bumping in the Japanese backcourt.
They're going to call it double hit that time on Ogake. I think she got a little bit mixed up with one of her teammates.
Great shot down the right side. Tajimi. Now, Tajimi is playing with an injured right leg. She suffered that coming down from a kill in Hong Kong.
Tajimi's such an important part of this Japanese lineup. For her to be hobbled a little bit, of course, she's not going to have the mobility that she usually has, but she's still very dangerous on either one of these wings, left or right.
Shot into the net. Now, Japan needs to avoid what happened to the United States when they played Cuba yesterday. The USA fell behind big time early, and Cuba really able to cruise from there.
Yeah, and Cuba sometimes, when they get that big league, however, they let down a little bit. They've been pretty erratic in this tournament.
Cuba coming into this match has an overall record of 5-3. They were brutal in the opening pool in Suwon. That's Ogake, gets it past the 2 Cuban blocking. Actually, Sasaki on the left side. She and Ogake, very similar playing styles.
Japan relying on both these girls to take it to them from the wings.
Torres with a bump. Gets Pushed over once again. Not a lot of heat on that ball. Over for the left-handed Bell. Once again, Ogake down the side, and it goes long.
Just long that time because they had the Cubans beat at the net that time. They had their defense all spread all over the place. Able to dump that ball in the backcourt, but unfortunately for them, just a bit long.
So it remains 4-0. Cuba gets the side out. Sasaki down the left.
Getting that touch there on that right-hand side. Sasaki using the left side, similar to the way Ogaki would use the opposite side. They can get something going on those sides. They're going to be tough as we look at the fault.
That's 2 in a row now for the Japanese. So Cuba a point away from getting the automatic technical timeout. Ana Fernandez, she was very strong, in particular for Cuba in their match against the USA yesterday. Mariah Luis, a second hit. Japan slow to set up. Now the quick set. Tajimi's shot handled well. And Regla Bell into the net. An ill-advised shot, to be sure.
Well, that's not her position. She needs to be up there very close to the net. She came middle that time, behind the attack line. Foreign territory for her.
Mariah Luis, a touch shot. Well dug out. Sasaki's shot. Cuba handling the spikes from Japan easily. Oh, what a dart from Mariah Luis.
Wow, she usually likes to go cross court. Then I think that's what the Japanese girls were set up for, as they move that blocking to the left, right down the sidelines for her. Excellent move. Just buries it.
Nothing Tajimi could do about it. Over the other way for Tajimi.
On the net that time, I think Barros.
Thomas Blue, the American, he's the referee today. Aguero, a quick set for Zola Barros.
Cuba having a lot of success early on in the middle of the net that time, with the exception of Bell's errant spike. They need to establish that middle to split up the Japanese blocking.
Mariah Luis, one of the best servers in the Grand Prix, currently ranked #2. Shot played off the net. Aguero kept it going. The set goes over for Sasaki, and pushing it just past the outstretched hands of Regla Bell.
Yeah, that was Ogaki that time, able to just dump it right over that left-hand side. She'll do that from time to time. She knows against these bigger teams like Russia and Cuba that finesse is going to have to be a part of her game.
Ogaki goes long, so some brutal Japanese serving here early on.
Well, they had a hard time yesterday, too, if you remember, Sean, against Russia. Not serving particularly well. Cuba returns the favor.
There's Asako Tajimi. Her play yesterday, earning kudos from the Russian coach, Nikolai Karpol. So Japan here on the board at 1-4, outdueling Ana Fernandez at the net.
Poor first touch that time by Cuba, sending it high and slightly to the Japanese side. Cuba girls couldn't reach it.
Big shot from Fernandez, but that play is whistled down.
Well, I think Fernandez might have got a piece of the net.
Going back Cuba's way, they're actually whistling Naomi Ato on the call. Quick set, Ato's shot, rejected by Cuba. And a shot deep into the corner. That's Sasaki now.
Over the top, Sasaki starting off on fire. Hitting the one lone retriever in the backcourt for Cuba. Not able to hold on to that one.
And a booming shot from Mariah Luis.
Luis working the middle more often than we've seen her in the past. Usually she likes to camp out on that left-hand side. Her and number 8, Regla Bell, will take turns working that area.
Quick set, and Cuba caught way out of position. Egoshi, and she had acres of space in which to place the ball.
And she certainly did. She's in there primarily for her blocking prowess, but that time able to find that area in the right-hand side.
Luis down the side, and they're saying she missed. Difficult call.
Real close that time. Luis trying to go back the same way that was successful for her in the initial hit beginning of the game.
Big shot from Ana Fernandez. Japan put the touch on it, so another side out. Cuba doubling up here at 4-2.
Cuba continually working that middle.
They push it back for Sasaki coming into the picture at the last moment.
It'd be good for Japan if they can get Sasaki working too, working in tandem with Ogake. That'll give them hitting power from the left and the right.
Good dummying that time from Zola Barros, but the Japanese blocking led by Tajimi. Nikolai Karpol saying Tajimi really the inspirational leader of this Cuban squad, or check that, this Japanese squad yesterday. Little dump shot. Japan struggles. They do get it into play, but this will be a free ball for Cuba. Luis, another touch shot. Twice in a row, Cuba goes to the dink to get the side out.
Yeah, well, you don't see that often with Cuba. One dink per rally is usually their limit. That time hitting twice, catching the Japanese girls a little bit too close to the net and able to dump it into the middle.
Very tight to the net played. Shot from Ogake repelled by Cuba. Japan doing a great job of digging here early in set one. Reverse set for Bell. So Cuba gets their 5th point. Bell just catching the line. 5-3 the score and a tight first set. Back to Gifu right after this. Timeout. Cuba holding the 5-3 lead here in the early going of set one. There's a look at that Cuban lineup. Very tall, but they're not the tallest team really in the World Volleyball Grand Prix. That honor belongs to Russia, but they are probably the most powerful.
Most athletic for sure. The Russian girls do have indeed as far as that. I think they've got 3 or 4 girls at 190 or above. But as far as pure athleticism, we'd have to give that hands down to the Cubans.
Raya Luis currently ranked the #3 scorer and #2 server in the Grand Prix.
Quick set again, that time by #6 Agoshi, working that middle. As we said, she's in there for her blocking ability. That time able to dunk one in the middle there.
23-year-old Agoshi serves. Big shot deep into the corner from Zola Barros. And her attacking has really taken a step up in quality today.
Yeah, they need her for that middle area. If they can get help from Fernandez and Barros who control those wings, it's going to be a long night for Japan.
There's the first service ace. Now, this is one of the things that hurt Japan in their match against Russia, a failure to receive serve in the first 2 sets.
Having problems with a lot of the spin, top spin that these players from Cuba and Russia can put on the ball.
Something that Japan really needs to correct. As a reverse bump shot finds its way onto the court, so Japan really confused now on defense. But reception of serve, they're going to need to step that up because they'll face Russia and Cuba again in Kobe.
If they're going to have any success at all, I would say that's the main thing that they need to improve in their game.
Block shot. Now, Japan, along with Korea, they like to flood inside the attack line, and that's what's going to cost them, the backcourt.
Yeah, they're just trying to cheat a little bit, trying to take up a little bit more real estate and catch these balls before they get deep, relying on their bumping skills, but that time not successful. And yesterday, not real successful either, as we hear the Japanese coach, Izawa.
A little more verbose than the technical timeout. Japan looks really flustered on defense. A couple of easy shots from Cuba have found their way onto the floor. There's Kaname. Now, we watched her yesterday, #7, come off the bench and really gave the Japanese team a lift, didn't she?
Yeah, she sure did. The 23-year-old, you know, 1.8 meters tall, so she'll be one of the tallest girls. So if they can get some blocking support from her, then that's just another weapon they can add to their arsenal. You could see Kuzawa that time gesturing with his hands, having his hands up. He's very displeased with the blocking thus far in the Japan lineup.
So a reverse bump shot from Regla Bell. Wasn't even blocked by the Japanese. Tajimi goes over for Ogake.
That's how Ogake lives off these spikes. She knows she's not going to elevate enough to get it over the top, but if she can send it into the blockers, and a lot of times you get the odd bounce there, it'll send it out of bounds.
She was super in the Suwon pool, which was the first time that Japan faced the Cuban team. Japan getting a 5-set win over a sluggish Cuban team. Now it's Sasaki on the left.
Again, Sasaki electing to go down the right side. I don't really know what her thinking was that time. She did have a little bit of space, and I think they ought to be working the sidelines a little bit more.
And the reception of serve continues to be poor. Really no chance at all from Minoko Onuki to set it up. So now Cuba on top, 10-3. They have rattled off 5 points in a row. We have another technical timeout. We'll step away and return after this. To the Gifu Memorial Center, where we are live for our coverage of the Gifu pool. This the last pool before the finals in Kobe, Japan. Cuba bolting out to the big 10-3 lead here over a flustered and confused Japanese unit.
Yeah, Cuba has done it with their normal amount of power and prowess. They've been serving really, really well this particular set. Japan haven't really done anything right. The blocking is poor, reception of service is poor.
Sasaki's shot repelled by the Cuban blocking. She'll set up again. Goes over the top this time. Allows Cuba to set up. It's Regla Bell. And a big bullet shot into the middle.
Her favorite spot. Now, she is ambidextrous. She can hit from both sides, but she prefers this left side. That's where they take her. Likes to whip that left hand up and around.
Bell, a longtime member of the Cuban national team, part of both the 1992 and 1996 gold medal winning team. Sasaki. Cuba's really got her figured out. Down the left, good dig from Japan. Tajimi, a one-hand push. Mariah Louise, the reverse set. And Regla Bell's shot, it cleared the net. Japan blocks it, but it goes out. Now 12-3 there on top.
And a good example of Regla Bell never giving up on the point. She hit first from the left. It was blocked back. Came over, slid over to the center, helped out there on the set. Comes back left and finally gets the winner. You see the ball getting blocked out of bounds that time.
Sasaki earning the Japanese a side out. There's Antonio Perdomo. Let's really watch Cuba come on since their poor start in Suwon. They were undefeated after losing in Suwon until they ran into Russia, and that was an epic 5-set encounter.
Yeah, with Cuba taking the first 2 sets and then withering under the Russian onslaught.
So that's where Cuba sits today, 5 up and 3 down. Japan, meanwhile, struggling at 3 and 5. Minoko Onuki electing to take it herself. And that just catches the line, and the Japanese defense caught flat-footed.
Great reaction time there by Louise. She comes storming up from behind that attack line, able to elevate above the blockers there and find that space in the right corner.
Again, a poor reception of serve. That time it was Yuka Egoshi committing the unforced error.
And really, traditionally, this is one of Japan's mainstays, their effort on receiving serve. We just haven't seen it so far in this tournament.
Sasaki, and she gets one through, so another side out, but now Japan trying to fight off set point.
Sasaki seems very comfortable over there on that left-hand side. Maybe she'll take a cue from her teammate Ogake and try to hit into these blockers instead of trying to go over them.
Bell from behind the attack line, poorly positioned to take that shot. So that'll be a point for the Japanese, now down by 9. Still a big hole to climb out of.
Regla Bell needs to be a little bit closer to the net than that. She doesn't have the leaping ability of, say, number 3, Louise.
Ado goes right back to the same spot on our previous serve. And Cuba gets the side out. Ana Fernandez. Cuba just has so many weapons.
That's right, and they can pull them up from all different places on the court. Even their backline players can hit with some of the best in the world. Really not what you call a weakness on this Cuban team.
Onuki again forced to go so tight to the net. Cuba blocks it out. So that's another set point that the Japanese have fought off. Sasaki with a deep ball. Aguero pushes it for Zola Barros. Luis bumps. Oh, no one was there to take the spike, so that should be a free ball for the Japanese. They set up poorly. They're pushing Onuki so close to the net, Chuck.
Yes, they are.
And that catches the line, so Sasaki make that Ogake number 12 on the left, going right down the line. That's her bread and butter.
That's what she loves to do. She loves that left side. That's where she likes to operate from.
Fernandez, a little extra oomph into that ball. Japan blocks, and a deep shot catches the line. and Zola Barros putting her hand to her face, knowing she should have covered on that ball.
Mistiming here, as you see there. Mistiming on the Cuban jump, and Barros not helping her cause any. She should have been back just a little bit further.
Touch shot is still live. 8-0 with a bump over for Cuba. And Tamaris Aguero wastes no time turning it around. Aguero, normally the setter, but she smashes it down.
Another one of those 50-50 balls right up above the net, and it's going to be the person who can leap the highest that's going to get to it first. There's no contest there. Aguero, a great leaper for her size.
Fourth set point now for the Cubans, and they convert there. Zola Barros redirecting the ball, so 15-7. The first set ends. Cuba storming out to the big lead, and they hang on. So Japan struggles to regroup as we step away. We'll return to Gifu. Once again, back at the Gifu Memorial Center, part of a doubleheader World Volleyball Grand Prix Sunday here on ESPN. This is live action. Nobuchika Kazuya has watched his Japanese team fall down by one set to the Russians, losing it 7-15. But really, Japan, it was the first part of that set where they struggled. At one point down 10-3. They never recovered from that.
Yeah, and they need people like number 2, Naomi Ato, and number 6, Yuki Agoshi, to step up for them. These girls are supposed to stand tall at the net. They're supposed to organize the blocking sequences for the Japanese team, and as yet, it's been sorely lacking. That and the reception of serves, the two things that come to mind for us as we're watching this match.
And this is the first of 2 matches that we'll be showing you today live. This is Cuba-Japan. Later on, Russia at 2-0 taking on the 0-2 USA team. Russia looking for their 3rd pool win. Aguero into the middle for Regla Torres, who misses long. So that's a point for the Japanese.
Straight over the top that time by Torres. I think that's her first hitting attempt this match, so maybe that'll settle her down. Good to get the first one out of the way.
The setter Onuki serving for the 2nd time. She pushes one over and right down the side. Ogake, but they're saying she missed wide.
Yeah, a little bit wide. She was hoping to get the call for the touch with Torres, number 10, didn't get it.
So Cuba earns themselves a side out.
Cuba with a little bit of revenge on their mind, too, Sean. Remember, Japan knocked them off when they came in here all jet-lagged in the first pool.
That was in Suwon, South Korea. Regla Bell, a very poor hit. I don't think Regla Bell really knew where she was on the court in relation to the net.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sean. She didn't know whether to hit it or in the end, she looked for placement. She was at 2 minds the whole time. It was never going to work.
Regla Bell with a block. She's blocked again. That's twice. They turned away Regla Bell's ball.
Well, they've got the book on her, it looks like, early. Blockers in perfect position. Look at the support she had behind her.
Oh, Aguero. There's a little heads-up play.
A little misdirection play by Aguero.
Japan concentrating so much on the blocking of the spike from Cuba that Aguero takes advantage. Onuki sets up. That's Ogake right on the line.
Ogake setting herself up perfect. She knew exactly where these blockers were, as you can see there. Nice dummy there by number 2, Ato. Got the blockers up in the air, made the job easier for Ogake.
And Ogake on the spike serve. Aguero straight up for Ana Fernandez. Japan really tightening it up now on defense. Sasaki, she was blocked, but they couldn't keep it inside. That's another point. A much better start for the Japanese. Now up 3-zip.
Certainly is. They're timing these Cubans' blocks much better this time in this set. And there's a service ace, their first one.
Right on the line. Cuba electing to let it go, so now 4-0. This will be Ogake's 3rd serve. Right into the net. So live by it, die by it.
Yeah, that's what they say, and they've got a couple girls on this Japanese team that are very erratic on their serves, but when it works, it's a thing of beauty.
But it's the reception of serve that Japan's got to get a little better on. Onuki pushing a free ball. Mariah Luis didn't put much heat on that ball. Turned away by Ana Fernandez. So Cuba on the board here at 1-4.
Great tandem blocking that time by Cuba with the help of Aguero, number 12.
That's Sasaki. Handled nicely by Barros in the backcourt. And Thomas Blue is going to whistle Cuba for being on the net.
Certainly was. She's trying to play a little bit too close, a little bit too tight.
This is Igoshi serving. Aguero reverse set that time for Regla Torres, and the block from Japan finds its way onto the court. Sasaki along with Ogake has really stepped it up. Take a look at this as we go for a break. It's Japan on top, 5-1. At the Gifu Memorial Center, how about Japan turning it around? They lost the first set 15-7. Now on top, 5-1. The reception of serve, their spike serve is going, but the Japanese blocking has really stepped it up now.
And I think that's what's turned it around exactly, Sean. You hit it right on the head. The Japanese blockers right at the net. They're able to second-guess some of these things that they've already seen many, many times before. In particular, they seem to be getting wise to Regla Bell on that left side.
Igoshi serving for the second time. Aguero up for Bell, and that's blocked out the side.
Got the touch. Bell that time going for the left side, not attempting that cross-court shot, and she gets the touch.
And it seems like every time Cuba gets into a little rut, they go back to Regla Bell.
That's what she's there for. That's the leadership qualities that she's so good at, world-renowned at, actually.
Top-ranked attacker for Cuba in 1996 when they won the Grand Prix for the third time. Cuba really has a stranglehold on this event. 1993, 1994, and 1996. They were the champion. 1995, they finished second. Sliding over into position, Naomi Ado. She's one of those players they like to rotate over to the wing.
That's right. She's there. She's like number 6 as we watch again, like Igoshi. Painting the line that time, coming around the defense, coming around the offense, sorry. Able to fool the Cuban blockers. They got up. They didn't think she was a primary spiker on that play.
Plays for Hitachi in the Japan League. Aguero, the bump. That was poorly played by Aguero. She bumped that right over Japan's way, so a side out. Japan still up by 3.
Japan having a lot of success now with the short set, both from the right side and the middle. Just beating the Cuban jumpers to the punch.
Igoshi reaches out, but again, Japan way out of position.
They only had one person, and that was Tajimi over on that right side to deal with a lot of area.
And then Japan slow to get into position to receive the serve from Aguero. They go over for Ogake. Cuba blocks well. Ogake again, little touch shot, and she outduels the much taller, much more powerful Regla Torres.
Able to twist her wrist a little bit and get some misdirection on that little dink. Pulling it just wide of the blockers.
Sasaki spike serve, and a beauty. Mariah Luis comes right back with a spike deep to the backcourt of Japan.
That's just what they needed as we get a chance to see it again. Look at how close she is to the antenna there and still able to hit the angle cross court.
Going right down the side, and how many times have you seen Ikumi Ogake do that?
Ogake and Sasaki working in tandem very, very well right now. They found something here, especially with Ogake on the left and Sasaki on the right.
Back to Igoshi on the serve. Japan looking for their 6th point, but Regla Bell says no, no, and goes cross-court with the spike.
Rotating Luis and Bell at that position right there. That's where Cuba, throughout the tournament, doesn't matter really who they've been playing, that's where they've had most of their success.
They work Ogake over. Great deception that time as they sent 2 ladies to the net to dummy, and then Ogake coming over at the last moment.
And we're looking at 24 attack attempts already for Ogake. She connects on 10 of them. Many of those have been just lately.
Tight to the net. Tajimi, the heads-up play to keep it going. That's Sasaki. Mariah Luis bunch, the reverse set. Oh, how about it? They catch Cuba out of position. Cuba not setting up properly on the block. Look at the confusion in the Cuban front court.
Yeah, Cuba, number 14, Fernandez, didn't really think the ball was going to be coming to her. It looked like it surprised her a little bit. She was expecting the ball to be put over to that left side for Bell.
Aguero up for Bell again, and that catches the line. Japan sliding their ladies up. Bell spots it, goes deep.
Yeah, that's her favorite ploy. She loves to go cross court from that left-handed position.
Over for Sasaki, blocked outside.
Well, Fernandez is getting her hand almost to every block, but she hasn't been real successful in turning the ball inside the lines. It's about the third time we've seen Anna bump it out.
Aguero pushes it back for Barrows, who had a lot of space. Great sliding save from Ogake. They force Cuba to go back to it again. Bell, it's touched by the Japanese blocking, but at least they're getting the hands up, something they didn't do in the first set.
That's right. We had a little bit of an argument that time. Agoshi says, no, I didn't touch it. But yeah, 3 times in a row they've gone to Bell over there. But the Japanese ladies doing a good job of getting their hands up.
Onuki setting over for Sasaki. Barrows pushes it back. Japan will load up again, and a dump shot. How about it? They watched Aguero do it in set 1, and Onuki, who is doing so much to set up this Japanese offense.
Onuki doing a good job that time. That was supposed to be a pass to the front court. It went a little bit too far. She had the presence of mind to just dunk it over the net.
And then Aguero returns the favor. A little second-hand touch shot of her own, so we're still on 6-2 here, Japan's way. And that catches, it looked like it caught the line. Yes, that is a point, so Fernandez will serve again. Onuki watching Higoshi rotate over. Cuba read that well. Mariah Luis, a long ball. She didn't catch all of that.
Yeah, she didn't catch it all. She was a little bit too far back to do the things that she wanted to do with that. Usually when you see a person that far back in the net, if they go cross court, it's not going to be successful.
Aguero for Luis. You can see Luis had to back up that time. The set from Aguero was off the mark.
Real close hit right that time, but missed by a little bit.
She has a quick word with Aguero, so they'll recalibrate. Japan gets a point, still holding the 4-point lead. Reverse set that time, so Japan playing side-out volleyball here, Chuck.
Sending Agoshi circling from that left middle position over to the right. It's 2 or 3 times this last 5 minutes or so that they've used her that way.
Regla Torres. It's like almost at the last moment she decided to spike, and by then out of position, so the long ball, Japan on top 8-3.
Well, the sets aren't really in sync right now. They're not working for Cuba. Might be a great time for a timeout here.
Again, Luis had to pull up, so she wisely goes to the short shot, and Japan didn't read it.
These sets are pulling the Cuban girls away from the net. In other words, they like to spike when they're real tight up against the net, as most tall teams will do.
Reverse set, blocked outside, but Thomas Blue, he had the finger pointed right at Tajimi, saying it last touched her on the way out.
Tajimi hit the ball, then she sort of did a 180 as she came down, and the ball touched her in the backside.
The poor reception of serve working against Japan there. They weren't able to load up on a spike. You see,
short set, nothing doing that time, although she did get in between the blockers.
But that whole sequence started when Ogake came late, and Regla Bell hammering a ball down that catches the line.
So just like that, Cuba back within striking distance of 2. Regla Bell leading the way. They had a little bit of an off period right there. As we see the coach, Pardomo, talking to them. No need to panic. Girls have been here before. Sean, you think a little bit of revenge on the mind of Cuba since they did lose to Japan the first time, or?
Absolutely. Cuba coming off a marathon 30-hour flight just to get in to South Korea, then with only 5 hours sleep, they took the court against the Japanese, and Japan in a 5-set win, really rubbing in the face of the Cuban team that were at a tremendous disadvantage. And I'm sure that's been in the back of their minds, back of the Cubans' minds since then. They went on to win the Hong Kong pool, and here they are with a chance to push Japan into 3rd spot.
Well, Japan doing a much better job, not so much of reception of serve, but you can look at their play at the net.
Sasaki tried a touch shot. Now it's Bell again. She's been the best spiker today for this Cuban team, and they are back within one. Really a testament to the power of this Cuban team, that they can struggle and still hang with an inspired Japanese team who are really playing to full potential.
Boy, right between the blockers that time. Ogake moving from that left side, inching her way over, getting up and catching the right blocker that time.
Aguero as Regla Torres swings into action. So I think Cuba beginning to recognize that Regla Bell somewhat overexposed on the left.
Yeah, so they swing it back around the right-hand side, and Torres is a master at that move right there. She prefers to set up on the right.
Blocked. Agoshi plays it. A poor touch shot. Aguero back into the center position. Regla Torres again right on the line. Borderline call, I'd have to say.
Yeah, looked a little bit long to me, but never mind. Here we go. The same move as they did before. Little back set, moving left to right behind the setter. Able to paint the line with that ball.
So we are tied at 8 up. Onuki setting over. Great deception, difficult to follow. I have to admit, I was confused by where Japan was going. They masked that very well.
Yeah, circling two girls back that time. Tajimi gets it and goes cross court.
Big shot. Ana Fernandez deciding to take it herself. Now it's Sasaki. She's blocked, but she gets to load up again. Twice in a row, they turned away Sasaki.
Oh, fantastic blocking that time. Ana Fernandez is up for this game. You can tell she worked in tandem that time with Regla Torres. Able to repel that attempt.
Nobuchika Kazuya pulling Sasaki from the game yesterday against Russia. Early in a press conference, he was saying that Sasaki, who plays for Dai, which is a middle-of-the-pack team in the Japan League, to put it politely, doesn't get a lot of big games, so she needs a lot more experience.
She needs to sit back sometimes and watch, see what's going on with the other players.
Shot down the right side. Luis bumps. Now the set over for Bell from way behind the attack line. That falls on Japan's side. They got lucky there. And they get it to 10-8. Great effort from Sasaki and her bookend partner Ogake. So Cuba on the wrong end of an 8-10 count. We'll be back to the Gifu Memorial Center. You're watching the World Volleyball Grand Prix. With Chuck Schreiner for ESPN's doubleheader Sunday here. First up, Cuba and Japan. A little later on this afternoon, Russia and the USA. So a full afternoon of volleyball here. Top-level international volleyball. Japan playing inspired volleyball here in the second set. On top 10-8. Great turnaround from them after losing the first set.
Boy, certainly you think they'd be on a real downer after getting decimated basically by Russia yesterday, although they did come up in their third set and take that one, which might have given them a little bit of confidence.
The dump shot from Aguero, that's the third time she's done that, and all three times it's resulted in either a side out or a point for the Cubans.
This can do nothing but the Japanese young team that they are, but service, playing all these big, powerful European and American-type teams, rely on spikes and stuff. Long run, it's going to help them.
Once again, the deception. That was Tajimi coming into the play. Now, she was on the other side of the court, flew in on the right-hand side. She's having a little laugh with Onuki. I think they changed the play at the last moment. Kimura off the bench in for Eto. That's the first substitution today for Japan.
Yeah, Eto not doing just a whole lot to help the Japanese cause. Of course, Kimura, defensive specialist.
5 women inside the attack line at 1 point for the Japanese. Cuba reeling now. That's Luis trying to restore order, but Japan up to the challenge.
Way too far away from the net that time, Luis, and you can credit that to the Japanese defense, who kept getting the ball back deeper and deeper as we watch this. Right into the arms.
So Japan now within a sniff of a second set win to tie it at 1 set apiece. Luis gets it back Cuba's way.
Not successful on her attacking percentage as she was yesterday, Luis. 8 for 17. That means 8 kills out of 17 attempts. Just under 50%.
29 years old. She has a lot of spring in her step. Tajimi's shot pushed back by Barros. Over they go for Sasaki. The touch shot, she had the right idea, but the execution not there.
Yeah, a little bit of intimidation going on there that time. Sasaki looks up and she sees two girls about 1.9 meters above her. She hadn't even jumped yet. She tried the right thing. She tried to dunk it over their heads, but no avail.
Now Sasaki goes back and goes long, and that went out clean. No Cuban touched it, so they're back within one. Very tight second set here.
Fans got to remember the things that got them this close in this set. Staying tough at the net. Good receptions of service.
The dig by Bell, up for Luis, flying into it. The touch shot, Japan covering nicely in the middle. Sasaki looking for a hole, Bell closed, now Luis. And a big shot right on the line, tough angle, and that's her big shot.
Yeah, that's that tough angle shot that we talked about before. It just gives the people in the front court little or no time to react.
Now tied at 11-all. And there is that poor reception of serve that hurt Japan so much in the first set. Tajimi with the bump, and Luis able to swat it away.
Another 50-50 ball up above the net that Cuba's always going to win with the personnel they have.
Now Sasaki, the ball kept going. Aguero the bump. Torres up for Luis, who had no choice but to put up the free ball. This will be Sasaki, and she gets into position. Cuba with 4 points in a row.
That time Japan able to put Cuba in a little bit of disadvantage defensively. Able to keep the ball moving around a lot, one part of the court to another.
Now Luis blocked. It falls on Japan's side. They got lucky there. Ogake, nothing doing on that ball. And into the middle, Aguero.
Aguero, like good reactions, huh?
And really, it's an added bonus weapon, if you will. Aguero, the setter, when she's able to spike like that.
Yeah, she can get up, too.
Bell, the bump shot, and it just missed wide. Japan right away electing to let it go.
Cuba in for a dogfight this set, though, 12-11.
Japan is fired up here at the Memorial Center before their home crowd in Gifu. Luis off the poor set from Aguero, and now they'll have words, so that's a point for the Japanese.
Very nonchalant that time by Aguero. Actually, her first option should have been the back set. She had two girls lined up on the opposite side.
Great set. That pulled Bell into position. Now Luis, a free ball. Japan with a chance to take the lead here. Ogake down the line and catches it. Puts a little Mikasa tattoo on the line.
Oh, fantastic for Ogake right there. Look at this. Opposite side, wrong footing, wrong arming number 10, Torres. Double blocking.
Antonio Perdomo calling timeout with Japan really inspired now. Ogake and Sasaki heating up from the wings.
They sure are. If we look at the statistics here, they're starting to even out a little bit. Japan getting a little bit more confidence, especially at the net. As you can see, the blocks almost even, are even. 46% to 38% as far as the kill ratio goes. So Cuba is still a little bit ahead in there, mostly on the virtue of their first set win.
Perdomo with some choice words from Tamaris Aguero, whose setting has been way off. A couple of times Mariah Luis has been forced to pull up and go to a touch shot when she wanted to attack for the kill. So 13-12 the score. Japan on the serve. This will be the setter, Onuki. Aguero goes up for Luis. They've recalibrated. Now Ogake, and that was touched by Fernandez. You saw the line judge right away making the tee. So now a set point for Japan.
Left side again works wonders for Ogake. Cuban girls couldn't lay off of it.
Nuki, the good spike serve. Aguero goes the other way for Torres, but it's blocked right back into the face of Regla Torres, and Japan takes it 15-12. Chuck Schreiner, we have a match on our hands here. Tied at one set apiece. This Gifu Memorial Center crowd fired up. Set 3 action. Don't go away. Bees national team putting on a show here at the Gifu Memorial Center. They have completely turned this match around after falling down 15-7 in the first set. They came back, stormed back really to take it 15-12. What has contributed to the turnaround, Chuck?
Well, I think a lot of it's just the erratic play of the Cubans. As we saw, the last part of that match, the setting was simply atrocious. people out of position all over the place, and Japan, a team like Japan's going to take advantage of that. Especially in, now they found with Sasaki, they've got another hitter who can provide some punch from that left-hand side. So they're firing on all 4 cylinders now, and Cuba's going to have to watch it. They can't be complacent when they're playing this team.
And really, at times in that second set, it looked like Cuba disinterested. Tamaris Aguero, she was the chief offender for Cuba. Some poor sets.
Absolutely, far away from the net, and then she, a fault right there. So anything can happen in this game. It's such a game of mental toughness and momentum.
Aguero pushes it over for Luis. Once again, they go back to Mariah Luis, the 29-year-old, and Japan blocks it outside. So a side-out results.
I don't think any of these Cuban girls are a mystery to the Japanese girls anymore. They know exactly where the ball is coming. If they're able to get the blocks up, then this could be a 5-setter.
Big shot from Regla Torres. But the Achilles heel for Japan continues to be that receiving of serve. Ogake pushing it over. They had Ado dummying, and going down the right side, the captain, Asako Tajimi.
Boy, what a lift Tajimi has given this team coming into this match fresh, and seemingly not suffering any side effects from that injury that she sustained a couple days ago, especially from the side. They look long.
That goes cross court. Thomas Blue saying that the shot went out cleanly. Torres has a couple of words with him, saying she thought a Japanese blocker put the hand on it. So knotted up at 1-all here in the third set. The big push goes over, and that fell on Japan's side, so they can load up now from the left, and it's Sasaki.
Well, number 8, that started because number 8, Regla Bell, gave a very poor serve. Actually, it was a bust. A set over to the Japanese side. They took full advantage of it.
Big spike serve from Ogake, catches a little net. So Cuba getting the side out, but Japan continues to play very strong, particularly in the offensive end of things.
What Japan doing very well right now is they are taking advantage of all the Cuban errors that are there, similar to what they did the first time these two teams met. Of course, now the circumstances are a little bit different. Cuba a little bit more rested and acclimated to the weather here.
Regla Bell had designs on going down the side, instead put his shot cross court. Great blocking by Japan. You wonder why Cuba went into the middle with 3 Japanese women in the vicinity.
Well, this is what we're saying. You know, they're just not thinking very much. The smart move would be to send that over to the left-hand side where Bell was waiting. They like to go middle and right into the thick of the blocking.
That's Fernandez again, turned away. Naomi Ato. Now Nobuchika Kazuha sat Ato down in the second set. Had a little chat with her after some shaky play in the opening 2 sets. But Ato has come out firing here.
They're just backing him off the net. Now if they can get Naomi Ato pumped up to do her job at the net, it could be a long day for Cuba.
Back set, and they wanted the call from Thomas Blue saying someone from Cuba on the net. But Cuba gets the side out. Thomas Blue not whistling it down. Mirka Francia into the game.
Well, she'll give him a little bit more stability, hopefully, at the net here. The blocking by Cuba not very good either at this point.
Again, Ogake failing to handle the serve. Regla Torres able to get a lot of topspin on the ball.
Yeah, I think that's what's confusing the Japanese girl. The topspin's coming so hard, and the ball will dip so fast. You can see the reaction of the Japanese girls. Another service winner, actually, for Cuba.
That's right. Japan failing to get it back into play. So Torres has Cuba back within 1 at 3-4. She goes over the other side that time. So twice, Ogake failing to handle the serve of Torres.
Looks real easy from up here, but you have to be down there on the court to appreciate the amount of topspin that's coming at them. Receiving every serve, a struggle now.
Sasaki, and she just gets enough spin on the ball that going off the hands of the Cuban blockers, it falls outside.
Barring a page from Ogake's strategy that time, going up against the body of the Cuban girls who are way up over the net. Torres paints that, as Bell paints that left sideline there. 50% on her attacks at the moment.
And the southpaw Bell serving. And that ball swings cross court. And falling outside the antenna, so we get the timeout. Japan continues to play strong. Cuba has worked a couple of substitutes into the game. As we take a break, it's Cuba on top, 5-4 in set 3. More from Gifu in a moment. Here, Antonio Perdomo has watched his Cuban team drop a set to the Japanese. Before this match, this really on paper should have been an easy win for the Cuban squad, but they are locked in a war with Japan.
Well, Japan also having the benefit of being the home team here, and I realize that the crowd isn't jam-packed for this particular match, but, you know, it makes a lot of difference in that way. Cuba, again, they have been erratic through the whole tournament, and their woes seem to continue there. See the quick set. That time, Igoshi being able to bury it.
Off the good set from Minoko Onuki, who really doesn't get enough credit in that setter's role. From behind the attack line, Torres turned away at the door. The blown set. Oh, and then Japan, no one in position. Ogake sent it back inside, knowing there was no way she was going to get it past the Cuban blocking.
And that time, only one Cuban blocker there, and she only had one hand up. It looked like Torres. So missed opportunity there for Japan.
Igoshi trying to go up against Cuba, but she blocked it outside, so now a 2-point edge for the Cuban team.
That time, Bell going from right to left.
Ogake, that time trying to go over the top of the Cuban blocking. That's a low percentage shot.
Yeah, it is, but, you know, when you're somebody like Ogake who doesn't have a lot of leaping ability, and you're about 6 to 10 centimeters shorter than your opposite on the other side, sometimes that's all you can do. But you are right, Sean, not the best situation to be in when you're forced to hit over the top, especially against Cuba.
Onuki's shot caught the tape on the top of the net, so this is Aguero serving for Cuba, who are a top 6-4. Maria Luis on a tough angle, but Ogake anticipated nicely. And the big shot, that's from behind the attack line. Sasaki, and it didn't look like she got a lot of heat on the ball either.
No, she didn't get anything on it, but she did catch the Cuban girls up, and we're expecting a ball with different pace on it than what they got. Japan just doing a fantastic job of digging everything out, and especially at the net.
Maria Luis putting enough mustard on the ball that Japan was forced to block it outside. She continues to be so steady on the serve. Going back for Bell, who eludes 3 Japanese blockers. Little touch shot. Bell waits for them to commit.
Now, if we remember the first set, Cuba was mixing things up very, very well. The second set, not so much. This third set, if they're going to win it, I think they're going to have to go to some different strategy here. Use that finesse game as we see another service winner, that time by Luis.
And Nobuchika Kazuya has seen enough. He calls timeout. But this now starting to look a lot like the first set, where Japan blew a couple of open serves, really didn't even get the ball into play.
Yeah, and even the last set, Japan had the lead and then allowed Cuba to catch up, basically for the same reason. Missing their serves, becoming a little bit nervous during crunch time, not crowding the net like they were. They're standing, when they stand toe-to-toe against the Cubans, sometimes the Cuban girls blink and they can get points that way.
But Ogake and Sasaki on the spikes have been able to go on different angles and show the Cuban team a variety of looks, and that has kept Cuba honest.
Yes, it has, and it's made Cuba have to split up their front row, so there are some spaces when the Japanese do get spiking attempts.
A little later on today here on ESPN, Russia against the USA. Russia, if they beat the Americans, would clinch their 3rd pool. So stay with us here on ESPN. Dugout, Igoshi struggles to get that into play, and right at the net, Regla Torres puts it down right away, not making a mistake. Cuba on top now by 5.
Chasing everything down, the Japanese girls. That was a very good attempt, but basically having to play with only 4 or 5 girls on the court.
Another service winner, Sasaki, failing to handle the serve by Luis, who has now served 5 times in a row. As we take the timeout, Cuba leads 10-4. Stay with us. You're watching the WVGP on ESPN. Knees on top 10-4. Nobuchika Kazuya had to call timeout midway through a big Cuban rally. But really, the undoing for Japan continues to be the poor receiving of serve.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, Cuba playing up to their script. An erratic team, they can bounce off 5 or 6 or 7 or even 10 points. We've seen them, and then come back and play abysmally for a period of time. The consistency is what they're going to have to improve on.
That's Naomi Ito turned away by Cuban blocking. She'll try it again. Different angle, different result. The Cuban blocking goes outside, so Japan gets the side out they desperately needed to stop this big rally.
Certainly do, and thank Ito that time sticking with it. Nice
Good
save
hustle.
there.
That was Aguero, who came from a long way to keep it going. So Sasaki into the middle. Luis gets it. And the touch shot from Zola Barros, who had been quiet through the last set and a half.
And it looks like that's what Cuba's going to have to do. They're going to have to mix up their hits. They can't just go at them straight all the time with full power, because the Japanese girls getting very adept at staying at the net and blocking everything. As we see a ball falling there for no reason.
How about that? 6 Cuban women all within an arm's length of it, and they have a little laugh.
That was Luis's ball, no doubt about that.
And they'll try and put that in their rearview mirror as quickly as possible. There'll be another easy point. Zola Barros. She wasn't sure whether to play that shot or not. She knew it was going to fall inside the line, took it. So a point for the Japanese.
Just what we were talking about a little bit earlier, Sean. Cubans are able to, with their ability, able to rattle off 6 or 7 points, and then just like that.
Twice in a row now. Mirror image of the earlier play. Now 6-10. 2 quick points for Asako Tajimi. Bell, not really in position for a big spike. It's going to be Sasaki. 3 Japanese women blocked. And no one there on the right-hand side. Egoshi, and really, she should have slid over into position earlier.
Way out of position. And nevertheless, a fantastic set there by Ana Fernandez. Way over from that left-hand side, able to get it cross court.
Pushing it over for Sasaki. And a ball, that was a rocket she launched just inside the attack line. Another side out for the Japanese, who are starting to look stubborn now. Aguero, not the highest of sets. Ito diving to keep it going. And called on the net. I think they're going to whistle Cuba for the touch on the net. They nailed Mirka Francia. So Japan now within 3.
And just like that, the rock continues for Cuba. Nice looking serve there by Japan. Little floater. No spin on it.
Luis catches some net. So for Sasaki, that's blocked. It was going to fall inside. Ito took it over for Sasaki again. And the blocking falls outside. Great comeback by the Japanese. 4 points in a row now.
And just when you think you've got them on the ropes, the Japanese girls come back. Of course, this is a trademark. This is what they're known for and have been for a long time. Knowing this, you would think the Cubans would make some adjustments, but complacency sometimes slips into their game. The 6 or 7 point leads can disappear within a matter of minutes.
Antonio Perdomo sends Martha Sanchez into the game, but Japan racks up another point. They have closed to within 1. Take a look.
Here we go. Bell trying to go straight up at the blocking. Nothing doing. Solid wall there for Japan.
Ito goes into the other corner. Back for Regla Bell. So Bell restoring order. Cuba gets it back, but now their lead has been trimmed to a single point.
Yes, and you know, go to Bell when you're in trouble. Perhaps I should have gone to her a couple points before.
Kaneko Omura, the 20-year-old who also plays for Dai with teammate Miki Sasaki, comes into it.
And Luis strangely quiet during this set.
Big shot down the side. Omura, who had just come off the bench, so Japan with another side out.
That'll help. Mora coming in and instantly getting her confidence up sky high.
Mariah Luis straight up and down. Tight angle.
Mariah does best when she is has time to set up, take that last step, and get up into the air, so she's way above the blocking.
This is Fernandez serving right into the middle. Reverse set. Now it's going to be Luis. Oh, good job by Japan to dig it out. It's Onuke in the unfamiliar role of spiker. She's normally the one that sets it up, but Japan gets the side out anyway.
And from a tough angle, too, as we look at it again, look at this. Turning her hand at the last instant, aiming for that left blocker and catching the body.
Aguero going over for Luis once again. Ado bumps it up. Onuke over for Sasaki, who finds some line. How about Miki Sasaki heating up on the left?
Well, I'll tell you, doing it from all different angles this time. Anybody that they bring in is helping out. Omura with the tough hit 2 times before that.
Remember, at one point, Cuba was on top 10-4, and Japan now 6 points in a row they have strung together. And Perdomo is wondering what has happened to the Cuban blocking.
Blocking's not there, and the concentration more than anything. Look at the differential between the blocking, 10-6 in favor of Japan. And again, look how the attacking is tightening up too, 42% to 44.
We can remember when it was below 25% for the Japanese.
So if the Cuban game stays stagnant, the Japanese game improves in almost every offensive category.
And when it was 10-4, you and I were thinking that the Japanese game had really headed south, and Cuba was cruising towards a 4-set win. But no, Japan has held.
Well, it was starting to look like the match yesterday against Russia.
Mariah Luis with a dart, pushing that inside out, so Cuba gets the side out coming off the timeout. This is Sanchez on the serve, a big floater. A twisting shot that danced along the net and found its way onto the Japanese side of the court.
Notice that every time Cuba calls a timeout, initially when they come back, they do play better. As I say that, another fault.
Tricky to make predictions up here in the booth, Chuck.
Oh, not at all. Just have to be prepared to be wrong 50% of the time.
Nomura on the spike serve, the one-handed set. Bella Hober saying no one touched it, went over clean. Sanchez not impressed.
Well, she thought that somebody got a touch on it.
So second serve now for Kaneko Omura. Aguero had to come over on the... Oh, that just caught the line. Ooh, that was a borderline call. Regla Torres, good reversal of direction there.
Well, giving us that look like, well, I do it all the time, but in fact, very lucky.
And now Thomas Blue is reversing the call from the line judge, so Japan gets a point.
Cuban girl slamming the ball into the net that time. Frustration.
I think Blue is going to have a couple of words with Regla Torres.
She raises her hand to acknowledge. She's going to have to walk over and speak to the referee. Yellow card, yes it is.
So a little warning for Regla Torres. So this will be a point for the Japanese, now on top 12-11. This Cuban team can sometimes be volatile. We watched last year in the Grand Prix as there was the unfortunate on-court fight with arch rival Brazil. That also happened at the 96 Summer Games with Cuba and Brazil.
Well, not the time that you want to have a fault. You have Cuba frustrated.
Yuki Egoshi comes into the game from Omura, who had just gone into the net on the serve. Cuba now serving to stay in at 11-12. Big shot into the middle. Cuba, poor alignment on the defense, and Ogake spotted the opening.
Oh, she sure did. Look at this, coming over to the left and pounding right across court. Very difficult shot.
Big hit from Zola Barros.
They're going to need somebody to step up. Luckily, Barros there to fill in that capacity. Right side that time.
Aguero, the big floating serve. Reverse set. Egoshi now plays a free one. Cuba with a chance to tie. Regla Bell shot. And Japan did get the hand on it, but they couldn't line up. No one in the backcourt to save that. So now knotted up at 12. And this was at the point in the second set where Japan went on a 3-point run to close out set 2. This is Sasaki, and her shot ballooning way past the line. It went out clean.
Well, hitting at the apex of the set that time. She should have waited just a split second longer for it to come down. She had the Cuban girls up in the air. Took a little bit too much time.
Big point here. They do not want to let Cuba get to the set point, but that's exactly what happens. So the old nemesis for Japan, reception of serve, hurts them there.
If there are weaknesses, you better believe they're going to find it, this Cuban team.
Set point for the Cubans to go up 2-1, and they get it easily. Ana Fernandez, check that. That's number 16, Mirka Francia, who's able to swat it down. So a disappointing set for the Japanese. They lose it 15-12. Cuba up 2-1. They're back live at the Gifu Memorial Center. Cuba with a 2-1 lead, but Japan making them work for it all the way, Chuck Schreiner.
Well, I thought, we were saying during the break, I thought Japan was in excellent position to take that set. Unfortunately, they start making these unforced errors on top of these service miscalculations, if you will, and there you go. You lose the set. It can happen real fast, especially in a close game. 2
service winners in the last 3 points for Cuba. That's what got them to the 15-12 third set win. But let's see now if Japan can respond just as they did after losing the opening set when they came back to win it 15-12. That was a thrilling second set win for the Japanese, and it delighted the crowd here at the Memorial Center. So Japan to serve, and they go long on the spike serve. That was Onuki, the setter. She's had a very strong game today. She has. Back setting especially has been picture perfect, and a couple times she's been able to set clear from one side to the other. Blocked outside again. Cuba argues with Thomas Blue, the American referee. They have had their moments with Blue. Aguero, a back set that time for Regla Torres, and definitely Japan got the hand on it that time. Yeah, you can see that the hand go up and the contact made, but that's the third time now that Torres has used that same move, circling left to right. Pushing it through that time, Ogake got it through 2 Cuban blockers. Yeah, in between them, look at this. Just almost looked like a carry there. Back set once again, and Fernandez up for it. Check that. That's Mirka Francia, who came off the bench in the third set. Well, not bad. She hadn't had a bad game for a substitute. She's come in. She's done her job. She's hitting 50% of her attacks, all of them from the middle. And punching that long is Sasaki. So that's Cuba's first point here of the fourth set. Regla Torres. She's looked despondent since arguing that call, unsuccessfully, of course, with Thomas Blue. Yeah, well, referee usually has the last word. Again, the reverse set. Aguero now back setting to perfection here. That was Francia again also on the hit. It'd be great if they could open up things in the middle from their point of view. Shot set up for Naomi Ado. Cuba scrambling. Turned away at the door. Aguero bested by Sasaki. Yeah, 2 Cuban girls off the court during that exchange. That was always going to happen. Able to slide some extra blocking help over there. That's going to be Sasaki, but the Cuban blocking, they're getting into place earlier now. Yeah, that's really helping them a lot, and that's what they need to do. And actually, there, as we see Francia leading the, getting ready to serve. But yeah, she's really helped in that middle, teaming up with Fernandez. Short set, and it's Egoshi who puts it away for Japan, getting them the side out. Anything they can get in the way of offensive points from Egoshi is a bonus. Big shot down the side, and I think it went over cleanly. Not touched by the Japanese, so that's a point. Zola Barros, she's been kind of up and down.
Yeah, she has. She hasn't really been in it mentally.
Big shot that time, Zola Barros.
So now going to some different personnel for their hitting. First we saw Francia, then we see Zola Barros.
I think they got Onuke tight to the net, but really she's forced to go in that close to the net when the receiving of serve is off.
That's what's gotten Japan in the game this far, going straight up against the Cuban hitters.
That just missed long. Aguero pushes it over for Mariah Luis, trying to work a little give and go with her, and she argues with the line judge. That'll be a point for the Japanese, and I think it was the correct call.
Yeah, it looks difficult to tell from here, but you can just see the other side of the ball coming out from the other side of her body there. Looks like it missed.
Great Japanese blocking. Aguero on the back set. Regla Torres shot dug out. Japan keeps it going. This ball is in play. Aguero for Torres again. That's touched by the Japanese.
Well, and using Torres as a weapon, going from left to right again that time on the circle play. Everything's set up to go left, and the set goes to the right side, looking for the vacant real estate and finding it.
Naomi Ado not there in time, so Cuba gets their third point.
Ado getting tied up there with Sasaki. The ball finding behind them.
Big shot from Sasaki, easily handled by Luis. They go over for Regla Bell, back into the middle, and Japan has still not found an answer to Regla Bell, who I think is probably more effective a spiker than Mariah Luis.
I think so too. As far as consistency go, you notice that every time they hit a rough patch, they always go to her.
Big shot there. Japan gets it back in. Aguero, the back set. That's worked well in the fourth set. But Regla Torres bested by Ogake.
Finally getting wise to Regla Torres, as you see, moving in that position from left to right. Sasaki catching her that time.
And Nobuchika Kazuya now charged up on the side, and Regla Bell goes back the other way.
How consistent. I mean, look at this. Well, 52% doesn't seem like much, but I guarantee you most of these points are attack points awarded to her when the game has been very close. They always go to her on side outs.
Naomi Ado, and you can see her readjust in midair, take a second look and spot the opening in the backcourt.
Here we go.
Her spike serve. That's out of position for Aguero. Now Japan with the free ball. Tajimi goes over for Ogake. Cuba keeps it going, but no, Bell under the net. Japan have themselves their third point of set 4.
Sasaki smashing right into the blockers on that left side that time. They get turned hand, the ball goes to the left. Nobody can get to it. Japan going right at these Cuban girls.
Spike serve got over clean. That'll be Torres in the middle with a little dart towards the left-hand side.
Torres a player in this set, Sean. She's moving from left to right very well. Luis not getting the hits that she was getting the first couple sets.
Luis in the backcourt, failing to catch the shot from Naomi Ado.
Looked a little bit unprepared that time.
Deep ball, too deep, in fact. Barros taking all the way.
You don't see that too often. Tajimi, one of the more consistent of the Japanese servers.
But they haven't needed her as much today as they did yesterday in Russia. Really, it's been Ogake and Sasaki, along with the setter Onuki, that have shown the way for Japan. Quick point for the Cubans. Japan had not set up defensively, so we get the technical timeout. Japan will try and regroup, still only down by 2 as we step away. Cuba on top in set 4, 5-3. Memorial Center, Cuba. with a 2-point lead here in set 4, and they are up 2-1 over the Japanese. Cuba trying to put a little heat on Russia. Russia will play the USA later on today. Cuba with a win here would go to 2-1 and would force Russia to win their last match against the USA to take the pool. If Russia loses, Cuba would go through as the pool champion based on set differential. That's Sasaki, touched by the Cubans, and then it goes out. For a moment, it looked like that went in clean, but no, it was touched by Cuba.
Yeah, Sasaki and Ogaki almost like mirror images of each other. They're both trying to catch the top of the Cuban blocker's hands. That ball goes out by Luis. So again, Japan trying to set things up tight on the left and right wings, which will loosen things up in the middle for them, for other people. Ball goes out for a fault.
But that is a point for the Japanese, so they get 1. Cuba not allowed to get inconsistent today. Really, the USA did not put as much pressure on them as the Japanese are doing today. And a little quick set. Oh, Onuki working with a Goshi. That's a rare combination.
Complete confusion on the other side of the net, the Cuban net, but look, that little quick set there, yeah. Love to see Agoshi get involved in the offense, too.
Aguero, a little push shot. Japan almost got there in time. So Aguero now will serve. Cuba on top 5-4. Tight to the net. And Zola Barros wins the best of that joust.
Out of position that time, the blockers at the net for Japan.
Nuki plays the bump off the net. This will be Ogake. Luis right into position. She's almost been better on the digs than she has been spiking today. Again, it's Ogake down the left side, pulled out by Fernandez. Now Luis pulls up. Short ball. It's going to be Ogake again. 3 times she tried to do it, and that time it went through clean. Cuba now on top 7-4, starting to put a little distance between them and Japan.
Cuba lucky to get away with that time. Luis hits right into the arms of the Japanese, who was able to set it up nicely.
Luis digs it out, works a little give and go with Aguero. Ogake keeps it up, but then it goes into the stands off the hand of Tajimi.
Luis, for the first time in this set at least, is able to take that stutter step, 1 foot jump, and then hit it back the other way with a lot of force.
So a timeout called by Nobuchika Kazuya. Japan now quickly have fallen behind by 4 points.
And again, it's nothing that they've really done wrong, Sean. I think what happens is Cuba will almost lull you to sleep, and then they'll come back and force. So which team are you going to see is going to depend on what set you're in. Thus far in this set, they're playing pretty even. Japan's still being very brave at the net. They're sticking it in there with them. Reception of service has improved a little bit. It's these little 50-50 balls that are hurting them now.
If you remember in set 3, Japan fell behind 10-4. Then they rolled off 6 points in a row to get it into a 10-10 tie. So this Japanese team, they have a lot of tenacity, a lot of resolve, and Cuba is going to be forced to go all the way, I think. That's Ogake. Fernandez pulls it out. Luis from behind the attack line. Oh, that ball may have been going long. Ado plays it. Ogake touches up. The ball from, that was a little Torres to Luis action, and Luis goes off the net and misses. Her spiking has been off, to say the least.
Has been off. She's cutting these angles a little bit too closely.
Aguero, the reverse set. Torres late getting there, goes to the touch, but still gets it past 2 Japanese blockers.
Well, she was up in the air so high that time. The Japanese girls, even when Luis was coming down with the ball in her possession, she just presses it up against the fingers and gets the roll.
And that's right on the line. Ooh, I'm not sure about that call, but Ogake gets it. Mirka Francia was the one who should have picked that up on the dig.
Francia the one giving a little glare across to the referee then.
This is Goshi on the serve. Dead center ball, and Aguero again, the touch shot, but Japan keeps it going. And really, it was just a matter of time before Cuba closed on that one, so they get the side out, still on top by 4.
Barris loves to hit in the middle. That's what she did that time. Took a little short set, did away with it.
Onuki tight to the net, and Ogaki gets all of that ball.
Japanese girls so quick to hit once they do get up into the air. As you see the nice dummy there by number 2, Eto. Ogaki lining up behind her.
Japan able to deceive Cuba with sending a lot of traffic into the middle. Regla Bell right down the side.
She likes that.
Bell closing in on 60% for attacks. Onuki for Sasaki. Good job by Cuba to keep it going. Bell looking for a call from Blue for a net violation. Nothing doing. Onuki goes right back, and the touch shot for Tajimi. Heads up play as she spotted an opening towards the left of the Cuban blockers.
Yeah, Cuba started to see the momentum going to Japanese way that time in the sense of the spikes. So she comes back with just a little dinker hit. It's the winner. There's another one.
That'll be the 5th point for the Japanese. So Tajimi trying for a little payback against Cuba, who have lived off service winners and aces today. You can see the coach of the USA, Mick Haley, in the background taking a look at these teams. Naomi Edo turned away by Cuba. Now it's going to be Sasaki, the touch shot. She shouldn't have played that. Anna Fernandez missed long, but it was touched.
I don't know who got a hand on it that time for Japan. They're very lucky. Setting not really up to par on that particular point for Cuba.
Mick Haley, although he is done with playing Cuba, he still has World Championship qualifying to worry about. Cuba and the USA are in the same pool, and that championship qualifying will take place in the Dominican Republic later on this year. Japan, of course, playing host to the 1998 World Championships. Naomi Edo, she had a good 3rd set, but here in the 4th, she has struggled. Kazuha sits her down.
They'll bring Kimura in to serve.
A ball that Sasaki should have put away. Aguero pushes over for Luis, who again is forced to pull up. Japan can keep it going here. Sasaki behind the attack line. Now Luis sets up, but what a block by Japan. Agoshi has been great on the defensive end.
Nice point for both teams, but in particular, look at this. Number 6 and number 8. I think they're going to give that to number 6, Higashi. Good job in tandem with number 10 there, Kimura.
And again, Japan digs it out, extending the rally, and that misses wide. It went out clean. So Japan now closing to within 1. What resolve from this Japanese squad.
They can't be too far behind, no matter what the situation. Very tenacious.
Going into the net, so that halts a little 2-point rally for the Japanese team. A couple of substitutions. Omura back into it, number 14. She had her moments in the 3rd set, didn't she?
She did well. She came in and immediately provided a spark, getting a point off a spike as ball goes out of bounds. Go back to Cuba.
Quick serve by Mirka Francia. So Cuba gets their 2-point lead back.
I think the Japanese substitutes have done a little bit better job when they've entered the game than the Cuban ones thus far.
Over for Sasaki on the left, and she goes into the middle. That's a rocket off her right hand.
Completely evading the blockers on that left-hand side. They lined up a little bit too much to the right. Sasaki says thank you, goes curling around left, and gets the winner.
Blocked, but it goes outside.
Unfortunate. Kimura, that time number 14, Omura, successfully getting up, and timing was perfect. She just didn't get the right block in. Falls wide.
Short set, Cuba reading that play nicely, and they're going to get Cuba. I think that's encroachment, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You're allowed to put your hands over the net, but you can't make contact with the ball unless it's up in the air. That ball was still up against her hand, I think.
So the serve from Onuki, the setter, spike serve. And how about that for the winner? Japan back within one.
That ball dipped as soon as she hit it, got over the net and just fell off the table. Watch this. Look at the spin on it. You can see the sort of misdirection it took to make contact.
And then Onuki goes into the net. But Japan now trading points with the Cubans. This is what they wanted to do from the outset. Big shot in the middle. A laser beam off the hand of Ogake.
Nobody moving that time. Ogake able to get up and pursue that middle area very aggressively. Was able to split the Cuban backcourt.
Kazuha goes for a bigger lineup, substituting the 186-centimeter Naomi Eto back into the game. Cuba working the side out. Bell down the left-hand side.
It's revolving chairs right now for Japan as they get a Goshi back in for her blocking prowess.
So Kazuha, I think, going back to his original starting six. Big shot. That was touched by Cuba. Tajimi working it.
Tajimi working that right side very well that time.
Playing it up. They had both Bell and Luis. Some hesitation between the two. Luis will play a ball for Bell. Block back inside. Oh, Japan is doing a splendid job of keeping that ball alive off the block.
Now here, Naomi Eto, look at her. And also number 1, Tajimi, giving them no space whatsoever. As we look at the statistics there as far as the block, Japan widening their lead, 14-9 as far as successful blocks.
Into the middle, now make it 15-9, Chuck Schreiner.
Eto again with the block, and they're going to have a timeout here.
This is the technical timeout. Japan reaching 10 points first. They have turned this set around, and we have got a match on our hands. And taking the lead now deep into the fourth set, and they have done it behind the hard hitting of Ogake 3 times in a row. She went into the middle, and Cuba not up for the challenge.
Yeah, and the clutch blocking by Eto has been the difference. And also Ogake able to move from left to right so well. Sasaki missing a couple key spikes, but the rest of the team able to take up the slack. And even the people that they brought off the bench have done a good job.
Ana Fernandez back into the game after a long spell on the bench. Big shot once again. Japan able to load up. That's blocked, kept inside by the savvy veteran Regla Bell.
Yeah, shooting off Ogaki's foot that time. Ogaki on her way up to the net to provide help.
Torres, the high floating serve. Into the middle, Tajimi. Torres takes that the last moment, then a poor shot played by Ana Fernandez. Nothing doing for Cuba there.
Yeah, well, Barros involved in that too. Miscommunication there by Cuba.
Substitution by Cuba.
They're going to get a substitute. They're going to bring Sanchez in. Seen enough of Barros for a while.
Barros have been ineffective, particularly digging. Back it goes again for Regla Bell, who is firmly entrenched on that left side.
She's cold. She's cold. She's able to come in there and just put it away.
Short set. Bell had to get into position on the dive. Blocked and kept going by Japan. That's what they've used to get back into this set. And it drops on the line. Great shot from Luis to redirect.
Yeah, Luis thinking on her while she's in the air. Going for the little dink shot that time. Japan thinking kill all the way.
That's Luis. Oh, what a bullet off her right hand. Going the other way, so Cuba back on top, 11-10.
Well, that's what we've come to expect from Luis, and she's mixing her shot selection up very well the last couple of possessions.
It's going to be Sasaki. She goes cross court. And the push up by Aguero, no one there. And that's the problem. You send Aguero into the backcourt, then there's no one there to set up.
Yeah, Aguero and Fernandez getting all messed up in their timing that time.
Megubi Takahashi, number 16, into the game. So again, Kazuya trying to go big here. 189 centimeters is Takahashi.
So that tells you that they're expecting this game to be won or lost at the net. Japan doing a fine job of combating Cuba's athleticism right now.
Aguero over for Luis, and she goes right into the corner. No one there for Japan.
Number 16 on number 3.
Perfect set that time for Luis.
So we get just really a cup of coffee with Takahashi, who came in for one play. Kazuya didn't like the way she set up to block on the spike from Mariah Luis. That's Sasaki, the one-handed diving save from Regla Bell, but Luis way out of position, so another side out for the Japanese.
Well, that was ill-advised. All she had to do basically was just send it deep, go ahead and give up the free ball.
Torres, the bump set. This will be Aguero spiking, and she goes long, and that's not the alignment that Cuba wants.
No, they don't want to go to her. They want to go that left side. And actually what we probably will be seeing any moment now is Regla Bell just camping out on that left-hand side.
Into the middle, Torres, but Japan gets a point. Actually, check that. It's Sanchez, number 17. Martha Sanchez plays for Holguin in the Cuban League. Onuki tight off the net. Pushing it over for Luis, blocked, and it stays inside. Cuba left that block alone, thinking it would go out. Another side out.
Well, Goshi doing a very good job, as we see right here, against Luis. She's tracking her the whole time. She's keeping track of where she's going, doing a very good job of keeping up. As she goes up again, Luis responding with a little dinker.
Great athleticism from Mariah Luis. She was steaming into the net, and when the spike wasn't there, she went touch shot.
She's going to have to do that occasionally, because I think some of these girls are getting wise to her, what she does do well. Timing their blocks perfectly. That ball's in.
Ogake with a little redirection down the left-hand side.
It shows the respect that Cuba does have for Japan. Yesterday they were able to spike with what you say impunity against the USA. Today nothing doing. They're having to mix things up.
Regla Torres shortened up on that ball. Went with a little off-speed stuff, so still tied at 11. Short ball. Japan struggles to recover. Over for Bell. Back into the middle with the left side not available. Bell comfortable going back into the middle. Now 12-11.
Very calm when the game gets to crunch time. That's when Bell wants the ball.
Ogake blocked, but it drops outside, so another side out. Japan still very much in this fourth set, down by 1.
Ogake not minding if she gets the contact on the other side of the net from her spikes. A lot of times they'll direct them out of bounds.
Tough shot played off the net. This now a free one. Onuki sets up in the middle. Mariah Luis keeps it going. Now Cuba with a chance to spike, and it goes long. Mariah Luis, I think, going to the well once too often.
Yeah, you look at her percentage go down progressively. She gets further away from the net. She needs to set up right on top of the net to be as effective as we've seen her from back. She's just an ordinary human being from the back, Sean.
They will finally get the hand on it from Bell, and that clears the net. I think they'll go back to Bell. No, it's Sanchez in the middle. Sasaki down the side, blocked inside. Best point of the match here. This is Sasaki, and she gets it done. Past 2 Cuban blockers.
Catches the elbow, the far left Cuban, far right Cuban blocker. Goes straight down.
That's 2 points in a row now for the Japanese. 2 points away from sending it to a 5th and deciding rally set. That's Bell. Oh, they've got her figured out now on the left. Sasaki from way back, and she goes into the net.
Well, fortunate there for Sasaki. And you're right, on that left-hand side, doesn't matter if it's Luis or Bell, they're making their timing jumps just perfect against these Cuban hitters.
So we are into crunch time here. Cuba down by 1, leading 2-1. They send it up for Bell, and she goes cross-court. Sasaki was there, but the ball too high, goes into the chest, knotted up again at 13.
Great set that time by Fernandez. Bringing Bell up to do what she does best with that left hand. Swing wide left as the ball goes out for a fault.
And Torres closes her eyes. She would like to have that one back. So Japan gets the side out. Serving will be Tajimi. Tajimi keeps it in. Over for Bell. And she forces Japan to touch. So another side out here.
Drawing contact. Being left-handed, sometimes that ball will swerve into the blocker. Is what happened that time. Agoshi not able to get the firm grip on it.
Onuki plays the bump, and Sasaki out of position, and she goes long.
Looking for the touch, though, appealing to the linesman.
They're saying someone from Cuba touched it. Blue is indicating that will go Cuba's way. It looks like it's going to stay there. Cuba 14-13 now with a match point. That gets Kazuha out of his chair. I don't think we're going to get an overrule, Chuck.
Well, looking for the net judge. The head referee, Blue, was looking at the net judge.
So 14-13, this is match point for Cuba. Japan just keeping it going, knocking it down, and that'll do it. The spike from Aguero, and Cuba surviving it. 15-13 in the fourth. A stellar effort by the Japanese to hang with the two-time defending Olympic champion. Cuba finishes at 2-1.
My choice.